What's up, guys? For this week so far, once again, bring you guys our Warhammer video. Jeez, look at the history of humanity. This was recommended to me by you guys. So again, thank you guys for the recommendation. I really appreciate it. This is my old man, which you guys have never seen any of his content. He is a great YouTuber. His commentaries are phenomenal. His good comedy and just the way he delivers his videos, a lot of passion in it. So I know this is going to be an absolute banger. So I'm hyped for it. I'm curious to see how he breaks down humanity. I mean, it's only about a 30-minute video, so really he's going to be missing out on a lot of stuff. But I think it's going to be a great video because he hasn't let me down yet, and I don't think he ever will. So, like always, please check out the original video in the description. Show him some love. If you guys are my content, you guys are my reactions, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get to it.
This is going to be different. I'm going to be different. I rant and rave about people and places. I roar about the Tau being worthy of nothing but extermination. I'm not going to be doing that today. I'm going to talk to you all about the Imperium, where we came from, why we are the way we are now. I assume if you're listening to this, you're either just curious as to what I'm going to say, or you're someone who knows nothing and wants to know more. If I sound bitter, it's because I am. You can call me the Commissar. I am, or was, a member of the Ordo Perfectus in the Imperial Guard, and I have lost much for the sake of the Imperium. I have so much more to give, but for now, all I have to give is what I know. So, with that being said, I'm going to answer a question. Why does the Imperium exist the way that it does? Where did we come from? Why are we here?
Bunch of crazy people.
Most importantly, why are we like this?
Emperor Crusade, then stuck on that golden throne, and everyone bad shit crazy. There you go.
The golden age of humanity ended so violently and so long ago we don't even have records of it. The last hope we had as a species sits as a rotting carcass of a man writhing in agony,
Yep.
clinging to life to simply keep us going after he was betrayed by his own creations over 10,000 years ago. The dream that man tried to bring to reality has turned into a waking nightmare that none of the countless trillions of humanity could ever wake up from. You as a person, at best, are a microscopic cog in a galaxy-spanning machine, and when you die, and die you shall, no one will care. I hate to tell you this. I wish it was different. I know that man, who even now sits shrieking into the void, wanted it to be different. I guess the best place to start is the beginning. There are 5 major stages in humanity's story, and they can best be summed up as the dawning of civilization, the golden age of technology, the age of strife, the Great Crusade, and the age of the Imperium.
I'm more familiar with the age of
I'm going to be extremely
Crusade.
vague. Otherwise, I'd be talking about some of these periods for literally hours on
I
end.
got no idea too much.
I'm also going
Basics.
to have to cut out a lot of context, which will probably come out later if this elucidation is something that is enjoyed. The dawning of civilization would have been a wonderful time to have been alive. It started when humanity founded its first cities and lasted for several thousand years. Even then, humanity looked to the stars and saw its future there, far away. Pricks of light in the dark sky, unreachable. There is so little that has survived that any relics from this time period are held in vaults by some of the most powerful people in the Imperium. And some are held by other creatures entirely. Humanity spread across our birth world, and then we began to look to the stars. It was slow, in some cases it was painful, but eventually we looked to the stars and saw something not unreachable, but something within our grasp, and saw not our future, but our now. In the solar exodus that followed, humanity used sublight engines to colonize surrounding star systems. Contact with other species was made, and as strange as it may sound, especially now, it was actually peaceful.
Shocking.
This is because of the galactic superpower of the
Especially
time, the
since compared to now.
Eldari. The Eldari Empire itself had been around for tens of millions of years, and had descended into a hedonistic and self-absorbed culture long before humanity's ancestors came out of the trees. To sum up the Eldari Empire's state of affairs nice and tight, unless someone caused a problem, they didn't even look or care. The one thing they did was keep more belligerent, hostile, and deadly species in check, leaving other species, including ourselves, to grow and thrive. Humanity was advancing quickly, and due to either genetic manipulation or just a strange mutation, certain humans were born with a specific abnormality. This abnormality allowed them to see into something that is called the Immaterium, and using these abnormal humans' gifts, humanity was finally able to travel faster than light. These mutated humans were called navigators, and their appearance brought in the golden age of humanity.
They're just used so poorly now. It's kind of sad. But shows how long they've been around for, though. They're important, regardless.
Now, at this point, I need to talk about something I mentioned briefly, the Immaterium. You may have heard this referred to as the Sea of Souls or the Warp. To take a huge explanation and simplify it, it's a parallel universe that is bonded parasitically to our own. The Immaterium is fed by and fueled by emotions and life in general. Most intelligent species are bound to both universes by having a soul. The soul of a being binds it to both universes at the same time, and when the physical body dies, the soul flies.
Wait, so if, let's say, all life in the entire 40K universe and galaxy, etc., just vanished, everyone just died, wouldn't then the warp then also die too, because it has to feed off of living creatures and emotions? Wouldn't just the warp just die as well? I mean, that makes sense, wouldn't it? So does that mean, like, in different... No, I'm thinking too far. I'm skipping the video. I'm thinking too deep into it.
It sounds so peaceful and serene until you realize there are planet-to-star system-sized creatures living in the warp that devour them. Smaller creatures that just rip the soul apart, and, well, there are other beings left unsaid. In fact, the best way to actually describe the Immaterium is to use an archaic term. Just call it hell, because in all reality, that's exactly what it is. Back when humanity first spread to the stars, however, the Immaterium was for the most part calm and placid, easy to navigate. That will change. With the application of other technologies, the navigators guided humanity through the Sea of Souls and directly into the Golden Age of humanity. Or the Golden Age of technology. Both are interchangeable. To say that this was the best time to be alive is undoubtedly the understatement of the year. The ability to travel through the warp and the general indifference of the Eldari meant that humanity outright colonized most of the free planets in the galaxy that weren't already occupied. What little we know shows us that humanity was for the most part peaceful and tolerant for all the good it did us in the end.
Not anymore.
We were capable of wonders of science, and all of this culminated in the invention of something called the Standard Template Construct, or STC. To give an example of how impressive these inventions were, even rumors of one being found today will warrant the death of billions to recover it. STCs in the Golden Age were common. We used them to build legitimately everything you could think of, everything you can need, to learn how to do everything there was to learn. Need to know how to build a biplane? Consult the STC. Need to learn how to build a factory to make shovels? Consult the STC.
That's why we can't build shit.
Here's a better idea of how valuable these things truly are. A group of explorers found an STC fragment, and as payment the Imperium gave them all their own planets, plural.
Whoa,
and the
for a
fragment
fragment?
they found made kitchen knives. Most, if not all, of the technology the Imperium currently uses was invented during the Golden Age.
What the
all
hell?
for a different purpose. Just to hammer home this point, you've almost certainly...
I mean, I know you said they're valuable, but damn, that's actually ridiculous.
Or
okay.
something called a Space Marine.
Wow.
Elite Space Marines, first company types, are often outfitted in something called Terminator armor, which quite literally turns the Space Marine into a walking tank. For humans in the Golden Age, this was mining equipment.
Oh.
Unfortunately, all good things come to an end, and the Golden Age
really
technology
cool.
was no different. History has a sickening way of repeating itself. And the fall from the Golden Age reminds me of something I read in a tome of an event called the Bronze Age Collapse from Terra's Early Histories. If you don't know what happened during the Bronze Age collapse, let me give you a 2-sentence synopsis. Humanity was growing in culture and technology, learning about the planet. Then, in about a decade or less, everything went to hell. The same thing happened at the end of the Golden Age of technology. The emergence of powerful psychers, a rebellion of artificial intelligence, the increasing difficulty of travel through the warp, and a sudden spike in attacks from other species. Individually, we could have recovered from each incident, but they all appeared to happen within such close proximity, time-wise, to each other. The combination was simply overwhelming. Stars dwindled, clusters starved, planets were crushed under the weight of what they manufactured but could not deliver. Oceans were drank and replaced with blood and oil as our machines rebelled against us. The great gears ground to a halt and rusted and withered until the very foundation of a federation which held the galaxy in its grasp disintegrated out from underneath us. And then the hordes came from every miserable and jealous race to gaze upon our capability. Then when the Golden Age civilization was doing everything it could not to drown, the Eldari Empire slammed the final nail in the coffin by destabilizing the Immaterium so badly that safe travel, faster than light, was not possible. The Golden Age of technology was strangled to death. Looking back, it's no wonder we call it the Dark Age of technology now. It's too hard to look back on what could have been, especially with what came next.
It only got worse.
The Eldari.
Things only get worse from there, man.
Eldari. They act so superior to us. They blame us for everything wrong in the universe. They blame us for the miserable state of their existence. If it were up to me, the name of that species would be written as a curse. Eldari. Eldar. They lost themselves to their excesses, their passions, their empire, their species. They brought on the dark time. They brought on the ruin. From their drug-infested dens and pleasure palaces, they never even looked to the stars. They never looked to the galaxy they were getting ready to destroy. They never even looked at us as we died in our trillions. In some ways, I can at least respect the Drakari, the Eldar who even now reave and torment us. At least, in their own way, they're more honest about what they've done, what they continue to do. The Craftworlders, in their spite, in their arrogance, I simply can't tolerate. What they really blame us for is surviving. Surviving what they did, and surviving what they allowed themselves to become. The Immaterium, like I said, is fueled by emotions. The more potent, the better. And what could have been for millions of years, the Eldari had been seeking ever greater heights of excess. The warp began to boil with the massed raw power of the hedonism they'd evolved into, the barbarity. They didn't require the Immaterium to navigate the galaxy, so to them it didn't matter. We didn't matter. Ships were lost, fleets were lost. Some of them are still floating in the Sea of Souls even now. The navigators couldn't see us through the violence of the warp. Humanity was once again fractured, lost, unable to reach out across the vast gulf of space, unable to even cry out for help. Some planets had never even been able to grow their own food, and they were the first to die, but they weren't the last. World after world,
it's just depressing, man. If you really think about it, bro.
Dark fell to desperation, and
that's
then
depressing.
Death. From a galaxy-spanning civilization that was thriving to a few thousand specks of light in a dark galaxy. Even on those few specks of light, humanity was tearing itself apart. A society of technology and progress reduced to murdering each other just simply for the last scraps of food and water. Psyker surged to power unchallenged and unchecked, and all humanity could do was suffer through this dark time, this age of strife. And that's when they came for us. When we were on our knees, when we couldn't fight back, they came for us then.
Chaos.
Aliens. Xenos. Every horror this galaxy had that could have been held at bay for thousands or millions of years surged back. Megarachnid, Hrud, Crave, Gycon, Vrax, Slan, Uvoth, Orcs. Too many to remember, too many to name, they all came. For 5,000 years they came. And for every benevolent species that might have existed, 10 more were coming. They came to kill us. To enslave us, to humiliate us, to use us as food. They came to destroy us. Have you ever wondered why we have no pity for the Xenos? No remorse for the acts of extermination we carry out? Have you ever wondered why we preach death to the alien?
I don't even blame him.
Go back in time.
I don't really blame him too much, man, when it comes to that.
Look what they did to us.
When you put it that way.
Know that given the chance, they do it again. Know that even in our darkest time, not a single hand reached out to lift us up, only to strike us down. Know that if the situation were reversed, they'd gladly do it again or worse. Jeez. We do the Xenos a mercy by killing them.
Sounds like the actual
mercy
Imperium
they
now.
often didn't give to us. 5,000 years of horror. Terra itself became a war zone of tribal bands competing for scraps of resources. Mars turned inwards, trying with all their might to safeguard what little technology survived the wars there. For 5,000 years, humanity screamed into the silence of space, only surviving in pockets, rare places that somehow avoided the horrors of the times. On countless worlds that are still being rediscovered, we find the bones of those who died there, alone yet uncountable.
Depressing, man.
We will never have a number for them. It was during this darkness that a singular man looked to the skies of Terra, clouded with dust and atomic ash, and looked to the stars. And this singular man began to prepare. 5,000 years of horror, 5,000 years of isolation, 5,000 years of humanity teetering on the knife edge of extinction was about to come to an end. You see, he knew. He had always known. On Terra, a new warlord came forth from the mountains of the Himalasian. For 5,000 years, petty tyrants had warred on the surface. Narthan Dune, the unspeakable, Caligan, the list goes on. This new warlord simply called himself the Emperor. Most know nothing more about him than that, but I know. He has been around since the dawn of civilization, since the first cities. People like me have long debated what he really is.
Is he technically like immortal?
An ancient creature far older than the species itself.
Like eternal youth kind of thing? Or just age
from
really
shamans
slow?
Who saw the darkness that was to come. None of that truly matters. In the end, he came out of the mountains of the Himalasia with his lightning bolt standards and began to conquer, drawing humanity together again on the cradle of our species for the first time since the collapse of the society so long ago. The unification war of Terra lasted over a century, and all the while the Emperor prepared to go further. In his labs where he worked his gene craft, he made 20 sons. 20 sons, 20 Primarchs, for 20 legions. 20 legions of warriors that are known as the Space Marines, Astartes. One day his sons, his Primarchs, vanished from his labs, despite every precaution that had been taken to keep them safe. They were thought to be lost due to some accident, vanished from beneath the mountains where he made them, but he knew better. As the War of Unification drew the last war bands on Terra into the first unified government on the planet, the Emperor went to Terra's red neighbor and made an alliance with Mars. They viewed the Emperor as a representation of their god, the machine god.
Oh.
If they only really knew that this perception
So that's
had been
where it starts on Mars. Okay.
At the first meeting, the prophecies that surrounded that meeting had been... That's for another time.
They're calling the Emperor. They're calling the Emperor the god. That's like the one thing he didn't want to be. His first interaction with like his first other planet besides Terra was them calling him a god. It's like the one thing he didn't want. It's just kind of
Outsider, someone
ironic,
who
you
doesn't
know.
understand, but if anyone ever questioned him, they kept it to themselves. He ordered fleets to be built. He purged the Xenos that had taken over the outer planets of the Sol system. And while the Emperor prepared to address his new nation, the Imperium of Mankind, he once more looked to the stars, watching as the last grains of sand of time ran out on the oldest empire in the galaxy.
Damn. That shit bright.
The Eldari, blind to what they had done and not caring for what they were doing, had fed the warp to bursting. The birth screen of what they had fed with their depravity tore a hole in the fabric of reality, swallowing the core worlds of the Empire straight into the bowels of the warp itself. This implosion of the warp ripped the souls of the Eldari out of their bodies for thousands of light years across. A civilization that had survived unchallenged for over 60 million years was snuffed out in an instant, with their few survivors hiding in pocket dimensions or too far away to be harmed. In an instant, the Eldari Empire had been completely snuffed out, and the warp storms that had isolated the worlds of mankind were extinguished. The Great Crusade had begun. The massive effort of the newly founded Astartes legions and the Imperial Army and the Emperor to reunify humanity under a single banner for the first time in thousands of years. Humanity reunited with its lost kinsmen, sometimes peacefully, sometimes not so peacefully. Worlds were freed from the Xenos that had enslaved them, the Psychers that had subverted them. Some worlds rejoiced to join us.
Purging
We
all.
had to be forced. We destroyed the Xenos that devoured us in our helplessness. We purged the mutants who did the same. The Imperium demanded compliance, with the first rule being to denounce any gods. It's painfully ironic, isn't it? The Imperium demanding its citizens embrace atheism. The lost Primarchs were found.
Yeah, that changed
the
really
lost
quick.
Sons of the Emperor brought back into the fold to lead the
Night and day,
Astartes.
man.
We found all of them. The Emperor was just a man, and everyone makes mistakes. Everyone. He made his fair share. We were so close, you see. The Emperor was not just taking back all the worlds to reunify humanity. That was not far enough. He was trying to secure our future. Humanity has one critical weakness, a weakness that the Emperor saw long ago and had been working to correct it.
Greed.
We, as a species, are weak to the whispers of the warp,
Oh.
the creatures
Yeah.
that live in it. We are weak to their power, their influence. The Immaterium is always seeking, always whispering, and there are things within it that promise power, pleasure, life, and wisdom. Even the knowledge of these creatures is dangerous. This is why we tried so hard during the Crusade to do away with belief in the spiritual, in religion, in the supernatural. Rely
No,
on
that's the
science to
polar
provide
opposite now.
answers. And as far as the esoteric, well, we simply haven't gotten the right answer yet. We are weak to those whispers from the Immaterium, but we are so linked to it. The Emperor was gathering us up into one Imperium to attempt to sever that link once and for all, to silence the whispers, to remove the reliance we had on the warp for travel and communication even. The Emperor was trying to ensure that we would never again fall victim to the wiles of the Immaterium, or the indifference or the hostility of the Xenos. In that, he failed. Horus, his most favorite son, rebelled. He rebelled because
Horus
the Emperor
heresy.
lied to us all, to try to keep us safe. Beings in the Immaterium told Horus 99% of the truth, 99% of the facts. They showed Horus a future that was a nightmare to behold. The Emperor worshipped as a god. They showed him the horror that would be 10,000 years in the future. They told him
It's a future that was going to happen
99% of the
if he
truth.
joined Chaos.
They simply decided not to tell Horus that he was the one who
Yeah,
would
it
bring
is.
this horror into reality. These beings
A kind of connection I could put with that, which is not the same scale, but is with Star Wars and Anakin and his fall of the dark side, is he got the visions that Padme died, and that was his reason to go to the dark side, was to keep Padme safe. But in reality, his choice to go to the dark side is what led to her death. If he just didn't join it, then she would never have died. But his fall is what caused her death, you know? So kind of a, you know, a similar comparison. Of course, it's not the same scale. I think dooming, you know, almost the entire galaxy into a never-ending shit show of war is a little bit worse. but that's my little comparison.
That led Horus astray. We have a name for them. It is the great enemy, Chaos. For 7 years, the Imperium fought a war that made all other wars pale in comparison.
That image, man.
It ended in orbit of Terra some 10,000 years ago. Horus was slain. Several other Primarchs were gone, and half of them had turned traitor. Trillions were dead. The Emperor was fatally wounded and was placed on the apparatus known as the Golden Throne. Another irony, sick and twisted irony. The symbol of what was to be the greatest triumph of humanity has become a symbol of its complete stagnation. The galaxy burned with the light of 1,000 conflicts. This light was the dawn of the age of the Imperium. 10,000 years later, and here I sit. The Emperor is now worshipped as the one true god of mankind. The ruthless investigators of the Inquisition hunt down anyone who says otherwise. The Imperium, newly born during the Great Crusade, was mortally wounded so long ago. We are doomed. The last hope we had is still sitting on the Golden Throne. His life work turned to ash and fire. The Emperor is a rotting corpse, somehow still clinging to life. The man who worked for his entire life to abolish our reliance on the Immaterium now is our only guiding light within it, powering the Astronomicon, a lighthouse within the warp that the navigators can see in its depths, and use as a reference point in the increasingly turbulent nature of the Immaterium. Warp storms cut off entire sectors. Trillions die every year to plague, starvation, and war. The Imperium is invaded almost daily by Xenos who will take any advantage they can. Chaos threatens to envelop the galaxy and plunge us all into darkness. Ancient creatures wake up on worlds looking to reassert their dominance, and from the darkness of the deep void, the Hive comes to devour us all. What should have been the second golden age has turned into a true dark age. The Imperium, only a blink of an eye into its life, was fatally wounded, and all we can do is fight off the predators while steadily cutting away infection. We are buried under the weight of bureaucracy and never-ending threats that assail us, a galaxy-wide civilization, always under the threat of collapse, always under the threat of extinction.
Jeez, man.
We could recover. We would recover. If only we were given a moment to breathe. If only we had a few years to recuperate. If only we had the chance to stand back up. We aren't gonna get this, and we know it. So we continue,
war, man.
An entire civilization standing on the knife edge of survival and extinction. Threats come through endless attacks from Xenos who can seek weakness, or those who simply want to kill. Threats come from within due to those drunk on power, of those who do not understand. All the while the whispers of the great enemy slip words of sedition to the ears of all of us. We simply never seem to have the time. Time to fix the problems in our society, time to make things better, time to improve, time to heal. So we just continue, decay running rampant. The walls are collapsing around us, but we can't stop fighting for long enough to fix them. The people are sick and hurt, but we can't stop preparing for the next fight long enough to treat them. Leaders are corrupt, but we can't stop to replace them because we need them to keep this machine going. This machine keeps running. The belts are coming off. The cogs are stripped. It rattles and shrieks like it's going to come apart at any moment. And in the background, a noise that no one can hear. It's the only noise that really matters. A single heartbeat coming from a throne under a mountain in the Himalayas. And should that single heartbeat stop, this machine falls apart. Inertia alone is the only thing that keeps this machine going, this corpse of a civilization going, which keeps us running. Sheer momentum is the only thing that keeps us holding on. We'd love to stop and fix it. We'd love to take a moment and breathe and correct it. We can't. So why is the Imperium like this? Why do the corrupt rule with iron fists? Why is there rebellion? Why is the price of a life so cheap? Why do we call for the purging of the Xenos, the mutant, and the heretic?
Why are we so intolerant, so militaristic, and so hateful? Because there is no time! No understanding, no striving for a better tomorrow, no tolerance, and no patience for complacency. There is only war!
That was really good, man. Just the way he delivers the lines what really is what hits me, man. I mean, he really just delivers it. He shows just the emphasis of just how the Imperium grew and how it fell so quickly and so violently. You know, like they went through so many trials and errors, and almost got extinct just to have the second chance with the Emperor, and how he had these kind of morals. You know, don't want to be seen as a god, no religion, none of this. Let's not rely on the warp. To now, it's heavily religious. It is, they're relying on the warp. They see him as a god. You know, it's everything he tried to do. They pretty much the Imperium just spit on them, basically, and it's turned to this shit show. I mean, the entire Warhammer 40k verse, especially the Imperium, is nothing but a complete shit show. And unless they find a way to revive him completely, it's going to be like that until the Imperium falls and humanity dies. It's just that's how it's going to be, because now you have the Tyranids, who are going to be nonstop. Orcs are nonstop. You know, the Xenos is nonstop. It's never going to end, and they have no way to really combat it. They're just struggling to hold on. So, but on that note, it's a great video. So I don't ramble too much. Please check them out in the description. Show them some love. If you guys enjoy my content, you guys enjoy my reactions, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.